All right, I'd like to call to order regular meeting of the Naperville Park District Board of Commissioners. Today is Thursday, February 24th, 2022, 6:30. Let's please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, roll call, Bridget.
President Todd,
Here.
Vice President Gibson,
Here.
Commissioner Ancier,
Here.
Commissioner Janner,
Here.
Commissioner McBroom,
Here.
Commissioner Ruffing,
Here.
Commissioner Thompson.
Here.
Okay, next is matters from the public. Is there anyone from the public to speak?
No.
Okay, we'll move on. Consent agenda. Would you please read the items in the consent agenda?
Item 3.1, approve February 10, 2022 regular meeting minutes. 3.2, approve February 10, 2022 executive session closed meeting minutes. 3.3, award the contract for the administration building upper level office renovations project to Integral Construction, Inc. in the amount of $138,600. 3.4, approve Ordinance 1013, authorizing the terms and conditions of a grant agreement between the DuPage Foundation and the Naperville Park District. And 3.5, approve Ordinance 1015, annexing the property known as Timex subdivision to Naperville Park District.
Thank you. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
Yeah, 3.3.
3.3. Okay. Anything else? All right. Mary?
Move to accept consent agenda items 3.1 through 3.2 and 3.4 through 3.5.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call.
Vice President Gibson,
Yes.
Commissioner Ruffing,
Yes.
Commissioner Ancier,
Yes.
Commissioner Janner,
Yes.
Commissioner McBroom,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
President Todd.
Yes. Move to
Okay.
approve.
Move to approve consent agenda items 3.1 through 3.2 and 3.4 through 3.5. Second.
Thank you. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have unfinished business of item 3.3. Commissioner McBroom?
Yeah, when,
I'm sorry, we need a motion
Yep.
first. Oh,
I'm sorry. Move to award the contract, 3.3.
move. Okay, move to award or approve item 3.3. Okay. Great. Move to award the contract for administration building upper level office renovations project to Integral Construction, Inc. in the amount of $138,600.
Thank you. Okay. Second, I need a second.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner McBroom?
yeah, when this item was brought up at the last meeting, I kind of questioned the need, and I don't know if I got the greatest answer on it. And while I want staff to be able to enjoy coming to work and have a nice place to work, I wasn't clear on, do we not have capacity? Is it not functional? I see there were 38 grand over budget on it, or what was allocated, 100,000 to it. So I don't think I'm going to support it.
Okay. Brad, do you?
Yeah, I can provide some background on this project. This really is to improve the workspace for several positions at the administration building, areas which currently are really not functional, do not work well for the existing positions. This will replace, we have 6 small cubicles that are in what was the old registration office at the administration building when registration was still located at that facility. And there are 6 positions that work out of those small cubicles. And what we've found is that it just does not provide them with the space or the privacy to be able to hold various conversations that they need to have, as well as to have the materials for their positions, different supplies that come in, so on. So the 6 cubicles will be replaced with 3 offices on the south side of the building of the upper level of the administration building. What this will also do is on the north side of the building, create more efficient space where we have a large kind of open lobby area within the north side. Another office will be created there for a position, as well as expanding the human resources office area to be able to accommodate a new position that was recently added to the district that will help all departments with the onboarding process. And that office space will allow for that third position to work within the human resources area, and will actually be large enough to be able to accommodate an additional workspace in the future. So overall, the capacity is not being increased at the administration building, but it's certainly going to improve the work conditions and increase the functionality for those positions.
Okay. Anyone else?
I don't know if this is working. When was the last time there was any building updates done to that facility?
I believe, and Eric can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was in 2016 after we had moved to this location. But that primarily consisted of, and actually it may have been even before that, that was within the lower level of the administration building where there was some HVAC work and then some office rework. As far as the offices in the upper level of the administration building, I can't recall the last time that we had. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember the upper level being worked on at all. So, any other comments? All right. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Vice President Gibson,
Yes.
Commissioner Ruffing,
Yes.
Commissioner Ansier,
Yes.
Commissioner Janner,
Yes.
Commissioner McBroom,
Yeah, that response was suffice for me. I support it. Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
President Todd.
Yes. Okay, now we'll go to the discussion items. First one is the community interest and opinion survey.
Yes, so included in the board's weekly packet was a draft of the questionnaire for the 2022 Community Interest and Opinion Survey. We last discussed this at the Parks and Recreation Committee, gathered some initial feedback from the board, and wanted to provide the board with an opportunity to review it prior to this meeting to have discussion with the full board. Jeff Andreessen with Acuity Research and Insights is here this evening as well to be able to answer any questions and take feedback from the board so that we can work to finalize the survey that will be used to send out for the statistically valid survey, which is a random sampling of the community. As well as we will give the opportunity for any Naperville resident to be able to provide feedback through the survey when we post it online. So we wanted to open it up for discussion this evening and again, have Jeff here to be able to answer any questions.
Anyone? Any comments, any questions?
Yeah, can you elaborate on that? So we're going to post this online as well. So we'll send it out to a group and then online. And at the end, will all those answers be, separated or reviewed together? Okay, so that way it's not skewed.
So we're going to random sample of the community. When that part of the survey is done, we'll provide the link for the online portion that you can put on the website. So anybody can, if you want, we can provide hard copies. So you can have this at the desk and facilities. People can fill them out there. So if you're not in the random sample, you'll still have an opportunity to provide feedback.
That's great. But then the results, we'll be able to look at them both ways.
Otherwise separate.
Okay, great. Thank you.
With the random sample, you have a goal number in mind, and then probably some people won't return them. So kind of, are you just going to send?
You were on.
Am I on now?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Oh, sorry. So with the random sample, you're looking for a specific number in mind to be a good representative number, because some people may not send them back, so you kind of send more than you expect, realizing not everybody will send it back. Is that how it works?
Yeah, our goal, I believe, is to complete a minimum of 500 survey respondents. We will send out as many invitations as we need to get to a minimum of 500.
Okay.
Sometimes we go over, which is great, but it'll be at least 500.
Okay, thanks.
Remind me again when we're going to start the survey.
We had talked about having results by June, so we're looking.
Not the
Yes.
results. When are we going to start?
So I think we're going to be in the field in probably April.
April, yeah.
So starting
Field
in April and
The results, the final report by the end of June, which is consistent with the last few times that the district has done a community interest and opinion survey with the timeline that we've used. That way, we will have the results to be able to then utilize those results as we plan for 2023 capital budget, strategic planning discussions later this year, as well as beginning updates to the master plan.
Okay.
One
Thank
of
you.
the things that,
one of the things that I had said at the Parks and Rec meeting that I was especially interested in finding out was how much of a nuisance our programming, especially our outdoor programming might be to such as events and things like that. Because that could definitely heavily weigh in our decision whether or not to allow a large type festival to residents in one of our parks, or we've had a lot of complaints about the gun shops from the sportsman's park. So I'm just curious if there's some way, I know there's like dissatisfaction with programs, but that would, if I were looking at that as a resident, that would lead me to say, have I participated in this event or this program, and do I like it? You know what I mean? That was one of the things that I thought would be especially useful to the board, in particular, in making decisions about a lot of these things.
We do have a question in there about programs and events that they participated in and the overall satisfaction with those, and if they're dissatisfied, they have the opportunity to say why they're dissatisfied and which ones.
Yeah, and like I said, if I were a resident looking at that, that would lead me to say, oh, it's asking if I've taken this program and do I like it? You know what I mean? If you could be a resident next to a large park that's hosting an event and not go to the event and get really annoyed when people are parking in front of your house. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just always very conscious, and I'm sure,
Yeah.
you know, because it came up with the Rib Fest discussion of how much of an impact we were having to our community.
Yeah.
So we have at least 2 or 3 opportunities for somebody who might have those opinions or experiences to offer that. We have open-ended questions in there that ask, what don't you like about the park district? What do you think it could do better? What could the park district do better or differently to better serve your household? So if somebody does want to express those opinions, we invite them in at least a couple of questions.
Question number 4, if you take a look at that one, specifically says, what do you dislike most about the park district? So that sort of all encompassing.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Any other comments? No? Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
All right.
So what we will do is we will work with Jeff to finalize this and then prepare to get into the field in April. And then, like I said, when we post it online, we will then also work with Sam and her team to communicate that out to our residents, that anyone can provide their feedback that way.
Okay. Great. Thank you. All right. Good. Next item is the conduct ordinance 641.
Yes, so also included in the weekly packet was draft updates to Ordinance 641. And Ordinance 641 is really, it's a pretty large ordinance with the various rules and regulations regarding use of park property for our parks and facilities. This is something that is reviewed periodically. We begin at the staff level, gather input from many of, in fact, all of the different departments within the organization on the ordinance. And then we work with legal. We worked with Dirk and his team to review it and provide further updates based on maybe recent legislation, trying to craft the regulations based off of staff comments, so on. We had initial discussion regarding the draft edits that you see this evening at the Parks and Recreation Committee, and wanted to bring it to the full board for discussion this evening to see if there were any other thoughts or questions in regards to the ordinance. Just real quick, a few of the more significant changes, because there are quite a few within the document. On page 5, there's a clarification around electric cycles and the addition of micro mobility devices. That's because since the last time this was updated in 2018, we've seen a lot of additional electric devices that are being used out in the parks and on the trails, such as electric skateboards, scooters, in addition to bikes. We have updates to the use of drones that's found on pages 7 and 8 of the ordinance. Updates to the controlled substances and cannabis section that's on page 9 based on state legislation. Requirement for film productions. We're finding more and more film productions are coming to the city and to the park district requesting use of property. So providing information about the need for a permit on page 13. I mentioned before micromobility devices, quite a bit of information regarding those on pages 25 and 26. And then on page 32, a clarification regarding artificial lighting, that once that's turned off at night, once programming is completed, that we will not turn that lighting back on prior to sunrise the next morning. We have received some requests to turn on lighting very early in the mornings, and that's not something that staff recommends doing at this time.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? No? Okay.
What we will do then with this is finalize this document as well, and then bring it to the next meeting for your consideration for approval.
All right. Thank you. All right. The next item is the personnel policy updates.
Evening. On an annual basis, my team takes a look at our personnel policies and our risk management policies for updates, revisions, additions, and deletions. This year, we are not going to have any changes to any of our risk management policies. However, at the March 10th meeting, I'm going to be bringing a new policy to you for consideration and several revised policies, and I'd like to highlight those this evening. So the new policy was previewed at last month's Park and Recreation Committee meeting, and it is going to be called a Personal Emergency and Crisis Policy. And this policy is going to afford staff who have sick time available to them to use up to 2 weeks of that sick time to tend to some sort of personal crisis that is outside of any other policy that we have. Some examples would largely be due to the ones that I thought of anyway. Things that if there's flooding of their home, if their house catches on fire, things like that really don't fall under another policy, but they need significant amount of time off to deal with them. We also added, since that, after discussions with the leadership team, that if staff do not have 2 weeks of sick time accrued to use for that purpose, that they could apply for a week of sick bank time. So that will be the only new policy coming to you for consideration. And revised policies, we did work with Ansel Blink on the revisions of the policies. So some of these are staff initiated and some are legally related. So our first one, the non-discrimination anti-harassment policy, we're updating that to capture the amendment to the Illinois Human Rights Act prohibiting discrimination against an individual because of their association with a person with a disability. And that is obviously a legal initiated change. Staff initiated for 0307, it's our call out pay policy. And that policy provides our full-time staff, if they're called into work outside of their normal schedule, they have to physically leave. It's not a situation where we've asked them to stay longer for a shift they're already working. They're paid a minimum of 2 hours at time and a half. But we now, with technology, sometimes we don't need that person to come in. We just need to call them to consult. So this policy captures that they will be paid the regular rate in 15-minute increments, which is how our payroll system is set up. Sometimes that could trip into overtime, depending on how much time they've worked. Other times it may not. Our sick time policy is going to be updated as well. And this here, we've added the legally required reference to allowing employees to use sick time for personal care of a covered family member. Our policy for the Victims Economic Security and Safety Act, which short we go by VESA, the act was amended to expand the list of reasons for which this protected leave is available to employees. So the definition of family or household member has been expanded. And then throughout the policy, we've indicated or any other crime of violence where things are listed out as far as potential reasons why someone would use this type of protected leave. 0705 is our proper dress and appearance policy. And actually, I just caught that we had never updated it. We used to prior, gosh, it was even before we opened Fort Hill, we called our custodial staff rec support. I needed to update that to custodial, something that we just never, you look at these policies so many times and you miss those little things. So that's the only change there. Our Abused and Neglected Child Reporting Act policy, we added text that indicates that the required training is required for staff to complete annually. Our Disciplinary Processes and Procedures policy, we expanded one of the reasons why somebody may be disciplined to include expenditures of district funds in response to a fake email. Kind of a hot topic kind of thing these days. Especially with all kinds of different cybersecurity things going on worldwide. Appendix B, our alcohol and drug procedures for CDL employees policy has been updated. This is a long one, so bear with me. The Federal Carrier Administration established the Commercial Driver's License Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse. So this policy was updated to reflect the district's obligations to query the clearinghouse with the database upon hire and annually for drug and alcohol violations for staff who have a CDL. Appendix E is our supplement to policy 0601, and this is the policy that provides employee program benefits, membership benefits, facility use benefits. We needed to update the matrix, not the movie, but in order for staff to actually be able to determine what level of benefits staff are eligible for. So that is everything that will be coming to you. Any questions? I know I rattled through a lot of that kind of quickly.
Katie, on the personal emergency and crisis, the new policy makes reference to possibly applying for 1 week of sick bank time if they don't have the days. Is that paid or unpaid that they would be?
It would be paid, and the sick time is donated from other employees.
Got it. Okay. That's what sick bank time means? Donated from other employees? Okay. And then where it says proof of the personal emergency or crisis may be required, is that purposely ambiguous? Like it seems like we should say it is required, or?
Yeah, because depending on the situation, we're not exactly sure what type of documentation we may need to prove that they need the time off. If it's a major house thing, it might be evidence that they filed a claim. But because this is kind of a catch-all that isn't covered in other policies, we did want to leave it a little ambiguous.
Okay, so it's purposely ambiguous. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, if a tornado comes through like the came through last June and we know that their house is wiped out, we may just be like, deal with it. We understand. We don't need the documentation.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Okay,
Okay, well, I get to be Sue Stanish too.
all you get to do.
And I am totally going to read this one. So if you're ready. So the Finance Committee met and performed the annual policy review at the January 21st meeting. And for the most part, the policy updates are cleanup in nature. The policies were reviewed by staff, the district's attorney, and if applicable, industry professionals, auditors, bond counsel, and such. One policy that has an operational addition is the accounts payable policy. In compliance with the new state law, the district is required to gather certain data from vendors and subcontractors doing business with the district as to whether they're minority-owned, women-owned, or veteran-owned. The finance team, in conjunction with the HR team, has developed an automated process to gather the vendor information using FormSite. The forms will be distributed through an email blast, avoiding the cost of postage for the mass distribution. And staff has been working on collecting email addresses over the past several weeks. The results will be tracked, and at this time, the state has not given any direction on how and if the data will be reported, and the forms will be distributed via email to our vendors in the next couple weeks.
Any comments on the finance? Nope.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks, Katie. All right, district-wide security and ReKeying project. Eric.
Yes, thank you. So a contract for this item is anticipated to be presented to the Park Board for approval at a meeting in March. The scope of work for this project includes ReKeying existing cores for lockable systems, including doors and facilities throughout the Park District system, and issuing new keys. The Park District last conducted this project in 2007, so that was approximately 15 years ago. And 5 to 10 years is the norm for a system of our size, consisting of roughly 1,000 cores to be rekeyed. So we're well past that point and ready for taking care of this project this year. The district is, as we move forward with this, is ready for an update at this time for security perspective, as general maintenance and organizational safety initiative. Based on the scope of services associated with the district-wide security ReKeying project, staff confirmed with legal counsel that this work is exempt from competitive bidding. Staff negotiated with representatives of Alarm Detection Systems Incorporated, which is known as ADS, our current provider, and secure competitive bid and pricing for the company, and supply labor and materials necessary to remove, rekey, and reinstall cores throughout the park system, as well as issue new keys. Staff also will be reviewing and updating key control and security management procedures as part of this project, which is so important when we change out and recore this key system. We want to make sure we have the procedures in place that over time that it's going to be sustainable. A total of $100,000 is allocated in the annual building capital allowance portion of the 2022 capital budget for this project. Pending contract approval and lead times for materials, work is scheduled to commence as soon as possible with the intent to reach substantial completion in late 2022, early 2023. Are there any updates on that? Questions?
Any questions?
Hey, Eric, what percentage of keys are we talking about? Physical keys here versus electronic keys? And are there any instances where we're using technology more effectively to get rid of some of these old school keys and transfer them to more electronic access?
Absolutely. So for our larger facilities, and this is a great example for Fort Hill Activity Center, we use our key card systems.
Right.
But for our smaller facilities, with all the infrastructure that you need to add for that system to work properly and the costs associated with it, and this key system even includes padlocks that we have. It goes all the way down to the bare bones lockable systems that we have. So on our bigger facility, yes, we do utilize the technology and the benefit behind it, but we also realize there's no substitute this time for the actual keys that we use for a system of our size. You asked the question about the quantity of keys. We're looking at past history and what we issued to our staff, and you look from the very top all the way down with our volunteers. We're looking at easily probably about 3,000 keys to start. The ReKeying itself is about 1,000. 1,000, basically, you look at every door we have, and we rekey that within a system our size of over 2,400 acres and 136 parks, all the sheds and facilities and padlocks that we have, it's over 1,000. So if we add it all up, we're looking at working with ADS, the cost of the actual rekeying, and that's for an employee to come out and rekey that, it's about $46 per unit. So 46 times 1,000 gets us about $46,000. And then per key, we negotiated rate, the typical rate's usually about $10. We negotiated rate down to $7.50. So you figure $7.50 times 3,000.
So as part of ADS's service, I mean, did they look at kind of like audit the entire district system and say, hey, we got recommendations, we can do this smarter, more efficiently? Or did they basically just say, okay, here's the cost for redoing everything that's already
It's
there?
a collaboration between ADS and our staff, and yes, we're looking at ways to do it more efficiently where we can, but we also realize at that system our size, we can't get away from the actual hard key system.
Right.
Yeah.
I just mean like in terms of master keys and things like that, just want to make sure we're putting forth analysis on the front end and not just simply redoing what's there in a different way.
And that is so important to the analysis and then the procedure part of it. Because to think about a system of this size and talking to other locksmiths in the area that do this business for a living, a system our size usually, and even talking to the locksmith that the city of Naperville utilizes, system our size usually changes this out every 5 to 10 years. And so once we do this, we're going to make sure it's going to be sustainable and last over time. So we need to make sure we have that procedure in place. So if we have a new employee that comes in, let's say for the summer, and then is done at the summer, we need to collect that key and track it as we go along.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I know there's certain jobs that are exempt from competitive bidding. I could probably use a refresher on when that qualifies, but and I know there's certain companies that are very specific and can only do what we're looking for. But is there any downside to bidding a job like that? Are there other companies that do this?
Yeah. When we first started down this path, realizing this is an initiative that we needed to pursue this year, we reached out to Dirk Price and his opinion on it. And based on there's a proprietary type function with the keys that we have, and the recommendation. And I don't know if legal counsel here tonight, Mr. Jones, has anything to add, but this would be a no bid type scenario.
Yeah, Eric's right. There's an exception in the state bidding law for both specialized services, which is somewhat of a nebulous category, but there's also a subcategory under there which relates to security issues as well. So it's eligible to be done without bidding. Reasons for not bidding are typically if you don't have a firm that's large enough to handle this type of project. You do go out for bids. Sometimes you get lower bids, but those firms may not be equipped to handle, again, the number of facilities that the Park District has.
And there's another point to this as well, is that by us utilizing our existing system, we lock into that $46 per core rate. But let's say we wanted to, and that's a proprietary system with the vendor that we have now. But if we want to start from scratch and go with the new vendor, that rate would be anywhere from $80 to $100 per ReKeying. So that's another reason why we decided from a economics and just the initiative that we are proposing here, from the safety and everything, the relationship we have with ADS, it's actually a much better option to proceed with what we have now versus starting fresh.
Any other comments? Any other questions? Okay, thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
The Knock Park Tennis Courts Crack Repair and Color Coding Project.
A contract for this project is anticipated to be presented to the Park Board for approval at the March 10th, 2022 Park Board meeting. The scope of work for this project includes surface preparation, application of fiber, reinforced crack repair system, color coding and striping. A total of $90,000 is allocated in the 2022 capital budget for this project, pending contract approval. Work is expected to occur starting this summer. Any questions on that?
Hey, Eric, we're all well aware of the increase in pickleball demand in the community. When it comes to the striping and color coding, are we being somewhat proactive in, for example, a tennis court that might also be a pickleball court either now or in the future? Like, how does that work with the colors and the striping?
Typically, with the pickleball striping, if we identify a location where it does make sense from a programming perspective, we can definitely add it. For instance, in the past at Ashbury Park, we added the striping to DuPage River Sports Complex. And as we also know, we're working on the Frontier Sports Complex Rothermel pickleball court. So we do have the ability to add the pickleball striping, whether it's here at Knock Park or other locations down the road if we identify the need.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sure this is yours too. Pioneer Park Parking Lot Resurfacing Project.
So a contract for this item is also planned to be presented to the Park Board for approval in March. The scope of work for this project includes renovation of the parking lot at Pioneer Park. The parking lot consists of asphalt with curb and gutter. The existing asphalt will be ground down and repaved with the new surface and pavement markings. A total of $45,000 is allocated for this project within the 2022 capital budget. And just want to let the board know tonight that we're evaluating the scope for this project and talking to contractors in preparation of releasing bids. We identified that this project may come in under $25,000, which is a threshold for approval at the executive director level per policy. So we just want to give you a heads up that it's out there. We may bring it to you, but if it's under $25,000, which is a really good thing, we have the ability to present it to our executive director for consideration.
Okay. Any comments on that? All right, and there's the Veterans Park Parking Lot Resurfacing
And
Project.
very similar to the previous item, the scope of work for this project includes a renovation of the parking lot at Veterans Park. The parking lot consists of asphalt and concrete wheel stops. The existing asphalt will be ground down and repaved with new surface and pavement markings, as well as a reinstallation of concrete wheel stops. $45,000 is allocated in the 2022 capital budget for this item, and the project is slated to commence in early spring with the intent to reach substantial completion before summer.
Any comments, any questions? Moving right along. The River Run Preserve North Improvement Project.
This is a little bit bigger one. This has a little bit of background that I want to share with the board this evening. So the River Run Preserve North site is located north of Naperville Golf Course on Plainfield Naperville Road. It's on the west side of the road, just north of the DuPage River. It is a dedicated parcel of 15.4 acres, all of which is in the floodplain. As part of the development agreement, that developer installed an asphalt path in the dedicated parkland in 2004. So we had it in our system quite a long time. Per inspections of the area as conducted by the Park District, staff identified the non-ADA accessible path located in the floodplain is beyond repair and becoming a safety issue, especially considering the deterioration of asphalt, uneven surfacing with potholes, sediment buildup due to continual flooding, and vegetation growing through the path itself. In addition to the poor condition of the path and resident concerns submitted through our Parks 311 system, there is no plans at this time by the Naperville Park District, the City of Naperville, or the Forest Preserve District of Will County for a trail connection in this area. The River Run at Naperville Apartments property is located immediately to the north of the River Run Preserve North site, which already offers an east-west sidewalk connection for residents who live in the area to utilize and enjoy. It is recommended by staff to remove this non-ADA accessible path and restore the area with the native plants as part of a natural ecosystem. The native plants will serve as a protective buffer as well as filter and clean water as a result of the frequent flooding events that occur in the area along the DuPage River. And this item was in the February 18th weekly packet, so you probably had a chance to review the pictures and get a really good understanding where it's located and what we're dealing with from a maintenance and operation perspective. With that being said, if there isn't interest tonight from the park board to proceed with this project, the next steps involve relaying the project details to the management company of the apartment complex. We want to give the residents a heads up that we're pursuing this project and why we're pursuing it. Releasing and securing bids for asphalt removal and native plant restoration, and presenting a contract for approval at a future board meeting. It is important to mention that funds are available within the 2022 capital budget to support this project. So now we just want to open up for any questions, comments the board might have based on this staff recommendation.
Any comments? Nope, no questions then.
So then there's an interest by the board for us to proceed it and bring it back.
Yes.
Excellent.
Please do.
Thank you very much.
Okay, all good. And one of my favorites, fertilizers for park services.
Good evening. At the March 10th board meeting, we'll be recommending to enter into contract with Master Blend International for $143,435.95 to fulfill fertilizer needs for parks and golf, for both parks and golf departments. Bid specs were collected by 16 vendors, and we received 3 sealed bids at our February 11th bid opening. Master Blend submitted the 2 lowest qualified bids, and we are recommending option B. Though slightly more than option A, it was determined that the origin of the organic components in one of the blends better aligned with Park District standards. Purchases will be funded from the combined parks and golf operations budgets, and Master Blend has provided the district's fertilizer since 2019, and we look forward to continuing that partnership.
Okay, any comments and questions? All right, so we're going to 2022 tree trimming and tree removal bid.
So Parks and Golf teamed up again for our 2022 tree trimming and tree removal bid. A total of 29 packets were distributed and 4 submissions were returned and reviewed at the February 10th bid opening. Based on calculations determined by project types and the average number of days used by project type in previous years, we recommend that the contract be awarded to Steve Piper and Sons. Funding for this project is provided by a combination of parks and golf operations and capital allowance accounts. The contract calls for the total amount spent with the provider not to exceed $96,000, which represents approximately 85% of the funds allocated towards this type of work between the 2 departments. The Park District has a long work history with Steve Piper, and they've always provided us with quality service at a great value.
Any comments, questions on this? Okay. Purchase of 2 2022 Ford Rangers.
So our fleet division advertised for bid the purchase of 2 2022 Ford Ranger XL Super Cab 4x4 trucks. 2 sealed bids are received and opened on February 14th. Based on the results, our plan was to recommend the purchase of both vehicles be awarded to Roche Ford for $56,000. However, that was the plan, and earlier today, we received word back from the dealership, and though our contract stipulated that the trucks be delivered to us within 180 days, they indicated it would be closer to 7 months.
Ooh.
So at this point, we need to hit the pause button and take a little bit of time to reevaluate. We did reach out to a different dealer we frequently work with, and they received information from Ford that they will not begin production on new Rangers until July. So at this point, we'll continue to research our options and may ultimately decide to seek approval to move forward with the purchase at the March 10th meeting, if this timeframe appears to be consistent with other vendors.
Any other questions or comments on this one?
Yeah, there's work, they're replacing vehicles that need repair costs. Is there like a time frame that if we can't get new ones, we're going to have to repair and wait a year? Or?
So obviously that's something that, it's constantly, having to be reevaluated. The plan obviously is to replace the vehicles before the cost of repairs. If we knew that time ahead and we could just get rid of the vehicle before it got to cost of repair, obviously, we'd all be in a different business.
Sure.
So we're doing our best to kind of guesstimate that. We may be able to get a little bit of extra life out of these vehicles.
Okay.
Just, through previous history and anticipating based on this type of use, how much longer we can go before we run into those bigger issues.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I know they, you do record, every usage of your vehicles and equipment, right?
Everything,
So-
right, every vehicle has a work history. We log in our work order system. We get to see, every repair that's made, how much
How many
each
miles.
part costs, how many miles annually that we put on the vehicles. So we're able to put together some pretty good estimates of what that life expectancy might look
Yeah.
like.
What I've seen in the past is that they make do if they have to, but, replacing things before they really are falling apart makes for a much more efficient workforce for, we get a lot more work done versus spending time fixing something. So,
Very true.
Okay. Any other comments on that? Questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's it for today. The next regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners is March 10th at 7 o'clock here at the Fort Hill Activity Center. Move to,
All right. Move to adjourn the February 24th, 2022 regular meeting.
Second.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much. All right.